All right, all you positive heads. On this week's Soul Share episode, I'm very excited to have Tammy Mastroberte here with me on the show. Tammy is an award-winning author of The Universe is Talking to You and her latest book, The Higher Help Method. Super excited to talk about both these topics. They're near and dear to me. Hello, Tammy. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thanks for being here. It is timely. I mean, the universe is talking is all about synchronicities, I know, and that sort of thing, which, is my favorite topic. And then the higher help method is about communicating back to the universe, which I literally, not even knowing going into this call today, I had a whole thing happen this morning where I did that more proactively than I have in years probably.
Wow.
And it just all is tying together in such a synchronistic way. I look forward to sharing, but before I do, let's start at my cliche opening question, which is this. You're in an elevator. The woman next to you looks over, says, "What's your passion?" You got 10 floors to answer. What do you say?
I would say, I love this question, by the way. I would say I am passionate about helping people tap into the higher helpline of the universe so that they can create a life they love waking up to every day. And I teach spiritual tools to help them do that.
Amazing. I like the sound of that. If you would, before we dive too deep, share whatever feels relevant to share about your backstory, just to give us a little context for who you are, your journey, etc.
Yes. So I grew up in the Catholic faith. My mother, we went to church every weekend, and she was very devoted to the Blessed Mother. And I went to Catholic school through 8th grade. And so that was my background and my belief system that still colors what I do today. However, it was actually the sudden death of my mother when I was 22 years old. She died of a brain aneurysm 3 days after Christmas. Oh. And that is what truly opened me up to what I call the more spiritual, non-religious realm of belief. And it was actually 10 months after she died, through synchronistic events, that my sister and I wound up going to a medium. And this was over 20 years ago. So we're talking about, I always say that there wasn't mediums on television. It wasn't a normal conversation back then, right? And I thought that this guy that we went to was the only person who had this unique gift. And so we wound up going to him, and that 1-hour session that I still have the recording of blew my mind. I was very skeptical, in the beginning. We lied on all the information that we had to send in. There was nothing online, so everything had to be mailed, and we lied on everything. And because we were like, oh no, we're going to make sure he can't research us. And within like 2 minutes of the meeting with him, we were gone. Like, you hear us crying, and it was so obvious that this man was, speaking to my mother, and her parents were the first ones in. And so that really opened me up to, wait a minute, there's so much more going on in this universe, in this world, than I realized. And now I want to know more. I want to understand more. And I always say my mother taught me the truth about life after her death, because it just sent me on the path that I'm on today. And had she not died at that age, and had I not had that experience with the medium, would I be doing the work that I'm doing today? Possibly, but definitely not in the way that I'm doing it. And so that's really what sparked me.
Wow. You said 3 days after Christmas, so I'm assuming the 28th.
Correct.
So it's interesting because my birthday is July 28th, and my dad's birthday is July 28th, and my grandmother is July 28th. Her mother died on July 28th.
Wow.
And I'm ex-business partner villain. I write about my book, his baby mama, grandmother, July 28th. Met my girlfriend on July 28th, 2012. Her boyfriend committed suicide on July 28th. And his name was Anson. All my relatives are from Anson, North Carolina, with that birthday, July 28th. And that's like half of it. It just keeps going.
Wow. Yeah.
So the 28th, actually, I just saw a numerologist the other day. Bill Gates is a 28. Elon Musk is a 28. It's supposed to be like the most powerful, they claim. I don't know. Who knows such things? But I like the sound of it when this numerologist was saying the 28th is like Putin's kids, and Putin, Apple was formed on the 28th. And, so the fact you're saying that day became this portal of power for you really jumps out as sort of a synchronistic thing. that we just wanted to
Yes.
point out there. Yeah. So, I know the universe is talking to you, learning to tap into the signs and synchronicities. And, it's anyone listening to this podcast knows that's like my favorite topic and go-to question always. So I'm so excited to hear about that and even share the ones that I've had today prior to this. It really is, once you understand the universe is reflecting you back to you, it's everywhere you go, you're there waiting for yourself. Right. And so how did you go from, okay, your mother's death catalyzed your own spiritual awakening. And then, this particular book, the first one, The Universe is Talking to You. What was there particular things that prompted you like, oh my gosh, this is something that needs to be put into, having talked about it so much on this show. And I have a friend, every time he sees me, he goes, Mr. Synchronicity, and he's like, you should write a book on synchronicity. And you did it. So
Right.
I just, what prompted you to go? There's so many things to talk about, spiritually speaking, to go and talk about that.
So it was actually signs from my mother that started my journey just shortly after she died. Actually, to be quite honest with you, moments after she died, and we had to decide to pull the plug on her respirator. I was in the bathroom, and because I couldn't go into the room, and I was just breaking down in the bathroom, and all of the sudden, I always say it was like someone dumped a bucket of peace over me, but everything just went dead. Like I was just like, I wasn't upset anymore. And I was in a totally peaceful place. And I knew my mother was in that bathroom with me. And I just kept saying to myself, everything's going to be okay.
Wow.
And that's where it started with her. And then I just was getting signs, her birth date, her name, songs on the radio, things that just even how we wound up going to George Anderson. I mean, he started showing up everywhere. And, 6 months before my mother died, someone had brought his book into our house, and we had a discussion with my mother about him. And we had never heard.
So you're already connected to him, like energetically.
So it was insane. So it started with my mother and me telling people like about these amazing signs. And I kept hearing from people, oh, my loved one's been gone 10 years. I've never had a sign from them. And oh, you're so lucky. Your mother must be this powerful spirit. And I used to think like, wow, maybe I am lucky. And then I started realizing, well, no, if I'm getting them, other people have to be missing them for some reason. Right.
Yep.
And so as I kept going, I started realizing it's not just my mother, the whole universe, our angels, our guides, everybody is sending us these signs, not just our loved ones who want us to know they are still with us. So I just started breaking down like, okay, what am I doing differently that I'm getting all of these signs, that I'm noticing these synchronicities, and how can I help other people do it? Because it can't be just me. And that's where I got so passionate about it, because it is so magical. It is so magical, miraculous. Like it is just living in a whole magical Harry Potter world, right? When you
100%.
start tapping into it. And so I just got so passionate about it, and I started teaching it. And then after I started teaching it, I'm like, I have to put this into a book. And that's really where it came. But it started with signs just from my mother.
Wow. I love that. Yeah. We both grew up in a similar way. I was a very conservative Christian, not Catholic, but, mine was so conservative, like Catholics they're all going to hell too. It's like everyone but us. And even half the people in this church, it was like really insanely, hell and brimstone kind of conservative perspective. But having that experience, and then waking up to, something so great beyond. And, but I will reflect on, there's certainly some wisdom in the Bible. And one of the things that I always reference is, lest you become like a child, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven. So I think, to me, what causes my ability to, have like such powerful synchronicities consistently, and communicating with my own grandmother across the veil recently, that led to real world events for me and my grandfather and grandmother. And it's like that childlike wonder around it. Like the fact I'm so excited to share, the 28th. Yeah. Oh, like, let me tell you about our synchronicity this morning. I haven't shared yet. It's like, I'm like a little boy with it.
Yes.
And I think that, unless you become like a child, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven. So for me, that is like one of the first things that I tap into is, what is the consistency? I'm always excited about it. And it's never gotten dull. It's never gotten boring. It's that magical Harry Potter world, like you said, and our inner child does backflips. So that's the first thing I kind of say to people is like, get into that childlike wonder of anticipation and believing that magic is real. Or like Wayne Dyer said, I'm realistic. I expect miracles. And, buckle up.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. 100%. And really just the thing is, nobody teaches us, right, how the universe communicates with us. Nobody teaches us about how it works. And then once that door is opened, right, once you have an experience for yourself, you can more easily get into that state of, oh, wow, this is this is so cool. This is so amazing. And that's why I try to teach people how to have those experiences, because you and I can sit here and tell stories all day and they're amazing. And I love hearing I never tire of people coming to me saying, you're never going to believe what happened. Right.
Yeah, me neither.
Because it's fascinating to me. But
100%.
Until you have that experience yourself, it doesn't hit home the same way. And then, like you said, it's easier to get that, oh my gosh, this is so cool excitement.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to dive into some of the suggested, for those who are out there listening, I often ask, hey, give me any suggested topics that would make sense for us to talk to. And sometimes I hit on some of them and sometimes we go completely off, but it's always good to know with people. And obviously, who am I talking to and what are their wisdom that they have to share? So we have a new person booking the podcast, and I didn't even, long story short, I didn't have a lot of awareness that this one was happening today. I thought I was on someone else's podcast until an hour, literally an hour before we're going to record. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, what, let me get the download here of what are we going to talk about? What is Tammy's thing? And I got complete chills because first is your book, The Universe is Talking to You, right? About synchronicity. And then your new book, The Higher Help Method, which we'll talk about, is about how to listen, to the, how to speak to the universe, right? The other way. And then I look at your list of suggested things. Why feeling stuck is a good thing is the first one on the list. Now, this morning, before our conversation, I've been feeling more stuck than I have my whole life in the last year. And I've had more, just challenges, more negative thoughts than typical, or, feeling like I've misstepped a bunch of ways that have led me to not be where I'd like to be. And, just having that stuck feeling. Right. And, so this morning I got up and I was feeling some of that, and I was like, you know what, Brandon, instead of diving into work, you need to make the time to, communicate, pray more, meditate more. My initials are BBB, and I think it's my greatest lesson because I do. And, and so I think that's a synchronicity for me, a sign like this is, so I take the time. I'm feeling stuck. I'm going to, like the Higher Help Method, I'm sure talks about, like, communicate outward. And I started just like praying out loud to God on my balcony, and something I don't do much, honestly. And very rarely. A prayer like this, it was particularly unique, and then it got me into, I want to start a mantra. I want to drum up the vibration of, and what came to me is, I am Brandon Beecham. I am the son of the sun, and I have come. And I just started saying this over and over. It's just what came to me, and I was feeling so much connection to source and the sun. And it was just like, oh my gosh, how am I not doing this every day? You know. And so then I come in from that, 30 minutes of that, I'm really buzzing, and I open Notes from the Universe, and it's, I'm sure you're probably familiar with Mike Dooley and
sure.
Yeah, I recommend people signing up if you haven't. He's been a guest on the show in the past. And he said, first thing I read, I see his note and I'm like on this high, and he goes, how do you know when you're illuminated, enlightened, and spiritually speaking, totally on fire, Brandon? Now, keep in mind, I am the sun. That, like what I'm saying, you're totally spiritually on fire, Brandon, when you're choosing to be happy, the universe. And then he's like, P.S. Yeah, I deliberately sent this one today, Brandon. Oh, so like coming off of talking about, tapping into the sun energy, and it's like literally a direct communication. Then I see, oh my gosh, I have an interview. What is it about? The Universe is Talking to You is your book. why feeling stuck is a good thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just, you can't make this stuff up, right? And
Oh, wait. Yeah. Wait, I have one better for you. So when I booked this, I booked it on Monday and they gave me 4 dates to choose from. And I went to my publicist and I said, there's one for this Wednesday. I'm like, I happen to be free that day. So do you want to just book it? But I could have chosen another date, right? So something made me choose this date.
Yeah. I mean, notes from the universe, then the universe is talking to you. Yes. Why feeling stuck is a good thing. So let's go there. Why have me been feeling stuck? Why is that a good thing?
Okay. So first of all, you were doing part of the higher help method this morning just by asking the universe for help, right? That's step 2. Mm-hmm. But why is feeling stuck a good thing? If you don't ever get stuck, how are you going to, where is your, motivation to do something differently, to change, to grow, right? If you're just happy and content in your life, you're not going to look for a way to do things differently. And the only way to change things in your life is to start doing things differently. So being stuck is the universe's way of saying, hey, something's not working. Let's grow. Let's look for something different. What do you want? What are you not happy about now? And what would you like to create? And then I tell people, so I actually tell people, get excited when you're stuck. There was a time in my life where I was stuck in almost every area in my life. Money-wise, work-wise, no relationship, my health was tanking. I mean, everything, right? And so even if you're stuck in more than one area, reframe it and be like, this is awesome, because that means something incredible is waiting for me when I can figure out how to move forward. And I teach people to use the higher help method to create that positive change, not by themselves, but in conjunction with the universe, with source, with a higher power, to make that process easier. Because when you ask the universe for help, it starts dropping those breadcrumbs. It starts dropping those signs to help guide you forward once you learn how it talks to you.
Right. Yeah, I think it's such a powerful thing to look at the idea of being stuck. And, we know this idea of what we resist persists, right? Yes. And what we accept, we move through. And so if you're looking at it and saying, okay, why is this happening for me? This is a good thing. And understanding something, I always say, smooth seas never made for a skilled sailor, and you came to be a skilled sailor. So understanding like this is part of the journey. It's like, you can't have the breakthrough. The breakdown's often right before the big breakthrough, right?
Yes.
And really what it comes to, it's easy staying stuck and being stuck. And so I think getting and doing, like this morning, okay, I'm going to do something different. I've been just diving into work and, not feeling my full power lately, and, having that stuck feeling. And it's sort of, it's tricky territory for me, because most of my life I have felt inspired, and losing that, or that waning in some way, and confusion is like, oh my gosh, this is a little scary. And so, but if you can send love to that experience too, right there, you've done something. And then you combine it with taking different actions. That's something like, of course, Joe Dispenza, talks about how much just changing what you're doing, if you want different results, do something differently. And that's exactly kind of what I did this morning. And it just opened up all this energy, and then synchronicity, of course, because I'm stepping into a higher vibrational pool, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I tell people, if you want to start opening up to signs and synchronicities, is you have to raise your vibration. You have to get yourself into a state where you can receive them, and you have to get yourself out of the chaos of your everyday life, internal and external chaos, and back to the present moment where those signs and synchronicities are happening. So that's a huge piece. The more you can sort of shift your energy, raise your vibration, feel better, the more apt you are to tap into that, because we're always connected to the universe. It's not like we can disconnect, right? Some people say they feel disconnected. You can't really disconnect. I always say it's like the iPhone or your app, whatever phone you have, you plug that cord in, but you know how like after a while it starts to like break open and little wires pop out, right? And it's kind of like, is it going to charge today? That's sort of what happens to our connection. Is it gets kind of frayed, it gets a little muddied, and it's not as strong, but it's always there. And we can use simple tools to sort of polish it up.
Yeah. I'd love to hear you talk about, I know you've got some steps that you recommend to overcome roadblocks. And I'd love to just hear, okay, we're obviously talking about some of those, but are there other things? I mean, is there any like list of actionable steps that people can use to, we've talked about, okay, do something different, do a meditation, do a mantra, what other things do you recommend for people to remove roadblocks and get back on the road?
Yeah. So you mean like if something unexpected happens and you're like, oh wait, what do I do now? Type of a deal?
Yeah. It's like, exactly.
Yes.
And do you have any sort of formula or process to overcoming roadblocks?
Yes. So first of all, I always look at a roadblock as a redirection from the universe, right? I look at it as, oh wait, maybe I'm headed the wrong way, and whether you get fired from that job, the relationship ends, you hit a wall, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought this opportunity was going to work out, and it doesn't. They say rejection is God's protection, right? So remember that piece of it first and foremost. Second of all, when I come across something that, is unexpected that I thought was going to work out, we tend to complain about it, fight against it, say it shouldn't be happening. And that's really not helping you move forward, right? So the first thing you have to do is accept I've hit the roadblock, right? I don't know why I've hit the roadblock, but I'm going to choose to believe that the universe has my back and that I'm not supposed to go this way. So right away, you have to accept where you are. Stop fighting against it. Stop complaining about it. Stop saying it shouldn't have happened, because that's not helping you move forward, right?
Right.
So accepting it is the first thing. Shifting your perception. There are no challenges, they are opportunities, right? So this is an opportunity for me to, if one door closes, another one's going to open. So I'm not going to complain about the closed door. I'm going to say, okay, what's next? If the universe is redirecting me, that means there's something better.
Right.
So sort of reframing it. In the higher help method, the third step of that is actually, so the third step of that is shifting your energy. And so once you've redirected it, you really need to shift your energy into a better place. And there's easy, spiritual tools we can do to shift our energy. I talk about mini meditations a lot, even for people who struggle with longer meditations. I teach them to do 1 to 3 minutes at a time to shift their energy in the moment. You can do it throughout the day. And then step 2 of the higher help method is asking the universe for help. And so I tell people, okay, so you're accepting this is what it is. You've reframed it. You've shifted your energy. Now you want to ask the universe, direct me, help me to see which way to go. Send me the signs, the synchronicities, the people, the resources, the opportunities that can help me head in the right direction. And you know what? While you're at it, help me shift my mindset around this, right? Asking for help through a prayer. And then really just focusing on joy, focusing on something that makes you happy, again, which is sort of shifting your energy. That's the best way that I have found to deal with roadblocks. And what I have come to understand and what I teach people is there really are no accidents or coincidences in this universe, right? There's often experiences that maybe we don't understand in the moment, but usually as time progresses, and if we look back, we can start finding those synchronicities to realize, you know what, everything actually is leading me somewhere. Everything actually is happening for a reason. And if you can remind yourself of that when something happens that you think should not have happened, it can help you shift out of it faster.
100%. Yeah. It's like, posing the question, why is this happening for me instead of to me? And,
correct.
I often say we're playing checkers. Our human is playing checkers. Our higher self is playing chess. So, one of the keys in my book, The Golden Key, is trust the mystery. I wouldn't have chosen this for my human level understanding, but I trust it. I know there's something bigger at play here. And so I'm looking for why is this going to make me stronger? Where is the silver lining? What is this trying to show me about myself? Why is there a tool here that I need for the next step in my journey? What could that be? What could the hidden, benefit be? And
yes,
once you start looking through that lens, it's a game changer, right? So, I'm curious with, of course, synchronicities and signs. We're listening to the universe, and then, I told you how this morning it's like, okay, this is my reach out back the other way. So I guess I'd love to just hear from you, sort of what feels relevant to share from the Higher Help method, your new book.
Yes. So really the higher help method is a method that I created without realizing I was creating it for myself because I was stuck, right? Mm-hmm. And so over time I started doing different things and putting different tools together to help myself move forward. Mm-hmm. And I found that they were working. And so what I say the method is for is whether you feel stuck and you want to create positive change, whether you are trying to make a decision and are asking the universe for guidance, whether you are looking for a solution to a challenge, you can go back to this method. And so it's a 4-step method that starts with getting clarity on what it is you actually want. And I have a clarity formula for that. The second step is asking the universe for help. And there's a variety of spiritual tools. We talked about prayer as one of those tools. I talk about something called focused gratitude, which is gratitude focused on the area you're stuck, because that's where you need to shift the most, right?
Yeah.
Crystals, I use rituals, and what I call higher helpers. And higher helpers are really just like in this physical world, we have people that specialize in different areas, right? So I always say you're not going to call your car mechanic to, cook you a meal or to fix your air conditioning unit, right? So there are specialized higher helpers on the other side, whether that's archangels, whether that's gods, goddesses, ascended masters. It runs across all belief systems. We all have these higher helpers. So I believe on actually asking those who specialize in money and abundance, like the higher help method. The second half of the book is broken down by life area, and it gives you these higher helpers and these tools. So calling in this specialized higher help, and that's really the second step. The third step we've already been talking about, which is shifting your energy, right? You have to shift your energy in order to notice the signs that are coming, because once you ask for help, the universe starts moving the pieces of the puzzle around to point you in the right direction, to send you the signs, and it will repeat things over and over until you get them. The name of a book, the name of a doctor, the name of a healing modality, whatever it might be. So shifting your energy so that you can be in alignment with these. And then the last step, which you were talking about taking action. The last step of the process is receiving those signs and then taking action on them. Because if you don't take action and you just say, well, I don't know, I'm just going to stay here and wait for something else, the universe can't continue to guide you forward. It can't continue to light the path up because you're just staying here and not doing anything. And so I talk about action and why, there really is no wrong action, because the universe will redirect you. It will throw up that roadblock, right? So better to take some action than no action. And that's really the process. It's a simple process. And I've used it over and over again to fix all those areas of my life that I was stuck in.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. It really is, it's such, I can't stress enough the power of understanding, roadblocks or redirection. It's like, Abraham kind of talks about it in this way. It says it's this or something better. So imagine if every time you're reaching for something, it's like, oh, I really wanted this, and it didn't come because it didn't manifest because there's actually something even better. Well, that was awesome. So I'm now real excited that it didn't work out. And what a difference than disappointment and letdown and, all those emotions and energies that we tap into, which only feeds experiences that continue to reflect them. Right.
Correct. Yeah. And actually in the book, I tell people, even when you're creating like an intention of here's what I'd like to create, you always have to be open to something. I say this or something better, because we think we want something and that this is the perfect thing for us. And the universe is like, your conscious brain can't even see or understand what's possible for you. So you always throw it back to the universe and say, I would like this or something better, because who is ever going to say no to something better? Nobody.
And I think that's, right. And I think that's the key is you can set that expectation. Like I said, you're playing checkers, your higher self is playing chess. So this is from my little human perspective, what I think I want and would be best for me. And I release all attachment and expectation around that, because I know if I get it, it's because it's best for me. If I don't get it, it's because it's best for me, and once that's playing at the pro level, because it isn't over if you haven't won. And so, and if you can relax into that, now you take all the stress and all the weird stories that really hold you back out of the equation, right?
Yes. And a lot of people get stressed out when trying to manifest because they're so concerned about, what am I doing? Am I doing it right? I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be doing that. Wait, this isn't working fast enough. Now I must be doing something wrong. Yeah. And you can't manifest positivity or create positivity from that stressed out place. And when you when you stop trying to manifest and stop trying to do it alone, it does take that burden. Like you said, it takes that burden off your shoulders of like, I'm not in this alone. Nope. I can ask the universe for help to guide me forward because it knows way more than I do. And now it can become a more magical process than when you're just trying so hard to do all the right things and stressing yourself out.
Yeah, right. Telling the story that you know best.
Yes.
And you simply what you know, and you're only seeing a part of a grander puzzle. And I think that takes a lot of pressure off of us too. It's like, okay, I don't have to have all the answers. I just have to follow my highest excitement and trust that intention and that energy will yield the best results that could look a myriad of ways. And, it's, I get to, and it's not necessarily always that I'm going to be happy. You didn't come to always be happy, but you can be at peace with what is, and trusting in the mystery, as the key I have I outline in my book. And, or Eckhart Tolle said it really well. He's like, most people think that this life is here to make them happy. That's the goal. That's the aim. And for some reason they're being shortchanged. Right. And, the problem with that is that premise is flawed. Life is not here to make you happy. Life is here to make you conscious. And so when you understand that's the soul's aim, is to become more conscious, and happiness. Yeah. It's great when that's a part of the journey, but the sweet's never quite as sweet without the sour. You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, and you understand that's going to be a part of the formula. Then you can relax about it.
Yes, totally. And when it comes to happiness also, it's sort of like we are more in control of that than we think, because we can choose how we react, and we can consciously choose what we're focused on and the things that we're thinking about to shift our own mood and to shift our own energy. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time, so that when we notice, we're feeling less than happy, there are things we can do about that. And there are things that we can have conscious control of to tap into that energy.
Yeah. So I'm curious, having written a book all on synchronicity and serendipity and positive paranormal sort of things, I'd love to hear any, good story that you might have to share, or stories. Our mutual favorite topic. So,
Yes. Well, so I shared one earlier of this synchronistic fact that somebody brought this, George Anderson's book into my house, right? And that, again, I didn't realize at the time until I started looking back. And I teach people an exercise called Follow the Footsteps so that actually in the universe is talking to you, where they can find these connections by tracing back their own journey, right? And so that was just an amazing one that, the universe basically set me up 6 months before my mother's death to go to this man. So, but another really, really cool one that was a big impact on my journey is, I had gone, so Dr. Wayne Dyer was the first sort of person that I started studying shortly after my mother's death. And it was actually after saying a prayer and asking for guidance. I woke up in the middle of the night, turned on PBS, and there he was talking about the power of intention. So Wayne Dyer led me to Deepak Chopra, and I was working in New York City at the time as a magazine editor. And I found out that the Chopra Center had a place in New York and was doing a Perfect Health conference. So I went to the Perfect Health conference, and I wasn't going to go, but then I randomly got a coupon in my email, not even from the Chopra Center. I don't know where it even came from, but I got a coupon for $400 off. And I remember saying at the time to a friend, I feel like I'm supposed to go to this. Like, how weird that I just got this coupon. Right, exactly. So I said, I'm going. So I used the $400 coupon. I signed up for it. It was like an extended weekend event. And, they had a whole spa there, and it was like 7 or 8 of us, and we all became friendly. I became friendly with the spa director there. Okay. Fast forward a year later, because by the way, synchronicity doesn't have to happen one after another. You can trace it back by years. But fast forward a year later, I'm unhappy in my job, complaining to a friend, telling her I'm into all these spiritual topics, because that retreat made me realize, like, I just want to immerse myself in this world. And I was telling her I was unhappy, and I said, I really want to work for a spiritual magazine, but there's nothing in the area. And this was years ago. There weren't even that many magazines out there. And so she was like, why don't you just start one online yourself? Like, you've been in the magazine industry for like 10 years at this point. What are you doing? And so I was like, you're crazy. But then within 3 months, there I was starting this magazine, and I knew I needed somebody amazing on the cover in order for people to pay attention to this online magazine. And synchronistically, I made the LLC, I think it was March of 2008. And I discovered that in April of 2008, Deepak Chopra and the Chopra Center were holding this huge weekend renewal retreat in New York. And Deepak Chopra was going to be speaking. And I said to my friend, I'm going to this event. I'm going to cover it. I'm going to cover, everything that Deepak Chopra says. I'm going to write the article, and I'm going to ask if I can put him on the cover. So I went to the event. I talked to people there. They probably thought I was crazy, because who is this chick saying she's starting a magazine and we don't even know you? But I said to myself, I'm determined to do this. I'm determined to get him on the cover. Yeah. And I remembered the spa director at the Chopra Center that I had been to a year before. And I said, I'm going on my lunch hour, my new letterhead in my hand, down to that Chopra Center. And I walked in and I asked for the spa director. They said she was in a meeting. I scribbled a note on the paper, handed it over, and said, can you please have her contact me? Walked out, went to the Starbucks next door. By the time I walked out of the Starbucks, the spa director had called me and said, of course I remember you. There's no reason we can't get you a photo. And by the time I got back to my office, several options were in my inbox. Wow. And so I launched the magazine. I don't publish it anymore because this is going back to 2008. Yeah. But I launched the magazine, had Deepak Chopra on the cover. It was amazing. It was incredible. And that whole entire thing was literally set up for me. And I had no idea prior to that all of this lined up perfectly, because I was supposed to do this. And that magazine led me to start teaching myself, led me to eventually write books, and to where I am now. So that's cool. Kind of a longer synchronistic story, but there's so many pieces of that puzzle that had to fit together.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. It reminds me a little bit of, I don't know if you're familiar with Sahara Rose. Yes. But her whole journey began by going up to Deepak at an event, and she shared. We've been on each other's podcasts and things, and she shared her whole synchronicity story around Deepak, and how it led to all the success that she has today. So that's cool. It reminds me of that, and he's been an instrumental character for a lot of powerful people, it seems.
Yes.
Yeah. So what, as we start to kind of wind down a little bit here, what is, you know, we've covered a good amount in this time. What is um, what is the one thing, if you could share one thing with the audience that we haven't shared, what would that be?
I would think the most important thing for people to remember, no matter what your background or belief system, is that you are not alone. We
Mm-hmm.
are never alone, right? We're
Yeah.
not in this world alone. We are not walking through this world alone. Even if you are physically alone, you are not alone.
Yeah.
And that you have access to help. I believe
Yeah.
we knew this before we came here. And I'm here to remind you that you have
Mm,
access to this help no matter who you are, no matter who you want to call on.
mm,
And whatever you are facing, I want you to remember that the universe is guiding you, is directing you, does not make mistakes. Everything is happening for a reason. And to please utilize that help that's available to make everything in your life a little easier.
yeah. I love that. I love that. Yeah. It really is when you start to think, because how many people out there feel alone and they're
Yes.
telling the story of I'm alone. And it's like, you know, source, God, the universe, higher self, however you want to refer to it, the consciousness, it's so close. People are missing it. It is
Yes.
literally, you know, there. You know, I saw a near death experience recently, and story. I love watching those accounts and seeing the parallels, and you know, they're just so fascinating. But this person said they showed up on the other side, and it was like it was them and God. In God, it was like in God, it was like I was the only. It was only us. It was, you know, and the love for me was like so um, unique. And there, you know, it was like this, just the two of us. Or I don't know if you're familiar with the short story "The Egg," but it's kind of a
Oh, I don't
similar.
think
Oh,
so.
I highly recommend it. You can
Okay.
read. It's by a guy named Andy Weir, and they made it into a short on YouTube. I always recommend it. There's a few versions, even 10 minutes to watch, but it's a similar premise. I recommend the version on YouTube with the where God is a cute English woman, but. Uh, you know, it really is like this idea that it's you and God, and you're taking this journey together, and there's no one else, you know, and
Yes.
it's like, and always source is with you, no matter in your grandest moment and your lowest moment. There, it couldn't be extracted or separate. It's impossible because you are it, and it is you, and that is a comforting idea to know that we eternity is intimidating, and with source, you know, right there as in our hearts and minds, as long as we don't, you know, even if we forget or cut it out, it's still there. But if we can be open to the knowing, you can always start tapping in. Like my story this morning, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm consciously connecting with source in this way, and oh my gosh, I feel so lit up from it. You know, why wouldn't I do this every day? I'm crazy not to. You know
Yes.
how I'm selling myself so short. What an easy way to get lit up and filled up. And so I think that is certainly a good lesson and reminder for me today. And I think this conversation is as well.
Perfect.
Hmm. Well, with that being said, is you know, what is the best way for people who want to connect with you and follow your work and get your books, and what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. They can find me on my website, tammymastroberte.com. There's actually a giveaway on the first page, or a freebie where they can get my top 3 tools to tap into that higher helpline, and actually open up to more signs. And then I'm on, all the socials,
Yeah.
TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And I actually go live every Thursday for what I call Weekly Spirit Boost, where sometimes I have guests, but most of the time it's just me sort of teaching and sharing
Yeah.
things for about a half an hour.
Cool.
And I'm live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram every Thursday.
Cool. Amazing. Amazing. Well, I do have one my cliche closing question for you today. And
Okay.
it is this. In 60 seconds or less, what is the meaning of life, according to Tammy Mastroberte?
Wow. The meaning of life is to learn, to grow, to learn to forgive, to learn to love, to learn connection, and to remember that we are all connected and possibilities are endless.
Yes. I like to say redash member, come back together
Yes.
with the other parts of self. And that has certainly been a pleasure experiencing that today with you, Tammy. Thank you for showing up on this divinely timed day and moment. And,
yes.
And all of you out there for tuning in your beautiful brainwaves and incredible hearts to another episode. Until next time, journey well.